Good evening, and welcome to Rare Drop Sports. My name is Nell, your host for the regular season. And as always, I am joined by Anthony, a.k.a. Big Ants Gaming, and Nate, a.k.a. Nathanius. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this Tuesday evening following week 3 of the NFL season?
We have a lot to talk about. Things are starting to come in the clear of who's going to be MVP. It's the same person I talked about week 1. And yeah, that's all I got to say. I'll save it for later.
Nate, how are
A
you?
man doesn't need too many words to say how he's doing, huh?
I know.
I'm okay. I'm back to it's only taken a couple of weeks for all the excitement and energy to get beaten out of me, and now I am back to an emotionless blob. My pain receptors have been overloaded emotionally, so much so by the Jets play that I no longer feel pain once again. So I just go back to the last 30 years of my life, I guess, being a Jets fan. So that means I'm doing great. I'm back where I belong.
Oh, perfect. And I'm doing great. Was able to go to the game on Thursday, which was awesome. Sam Darnold apparently doesn't need to throw the ball. He just runs it into the end zone. That's a whole nother story. But how about we just get right into this? Fantasy football, it's on the top of everybody's minds. I just want to say Rare Drop tweeted it out not too long ago. Hi, I am in sole lead of first place in the Rare Drop Sports Fantasy League because I'm undefeated. Thank you, Josh Allen, for having a record day. I appreciate you. I'm 3-0 in both my leagues. I want to know where all the trash-talking Rare Drop people were this week. Last week, Professor Broman kind of talked a big game. He's not here, so we'll see what happens. But how did both of y'all do this week in fantasy football? Looking at you, Anthony.
So I set records in fantasy football. That's what I do. That's my goal in life. And I set another record, my personal record. My buddy Ryan beat me by a grand total of 7 points.
Wait, how many points did you put up?
107.
Oh, so he did he have like Josh Allen and Mike Williams and everyone?
I believe I need to talk to the app. I think he cheated because I think he had more people than you should have in the starting lineup. But he did have Josh Allen. Okay, understandable. He did have Mike Williams in the PPR league. All right, well, that's fine. Some guy named Justin Jefferson. He did all right.
Oh yeah.
He also, his kicker beat 6 of my starting skill players.
Who did you have, Justin Tucker?
Yes. And his defense went negative. His defense, I wasn't trying to get mad. Now, why are you doing this to me? Why? I came here. It's the launch of I wasn't trying to get mad.
Okay.
Nate, to you.
Nate, how was your fantasy day?
I lost by a lot.
Oh man. Okay. Well. Okay. I'm really amazing at losing spectacularly. All right. I'm gonna tell you my heavy hit sluggers. I run a fantasy football league in my Discord for people like watch my stream and stuff like that. And not only was I, of course, happy to see Lamar Jackson get some points. He's always reliable for some stuff, but Tyreek Hill didn't do a lot for me this week, and I was feeling a little bit feisty. I've gotten some great fantasy wins on the past, in years past, several years past, from Robbie Anderson. Not the hottest score this week, as you mentioned, was a bit more of a grind out sort of game for the Panthers. So I'm comfortably sitting in the bottom of my own league. It's impressive. You'd think I'd at least be able to find some sort of way to give myself an advantage, and yet I even fail at that. And shout out to Justin Jefferson on my bench, who finally had a nice good game when Robbie took a nap. So that's my week. Not the best, but ever hopeful for the future, right?
Yes, we're gonna do it. We're going to bounce back. That I feel it.
Yeah, okay.
And then Nell's gonna lose 3 straight wins, 3 straight matches. So
Yeah. Well, it's been easy having Josh Allen as my starting quarterback in both leagues. So I mean, in one league he got me 36 points, and then in my ESPN league, the one that we talked about with all the crazy scoring, he had 50. So it wasn't too bad, I think I did pretty good. in that regard. So I should also mention in the ESPN league with Dalvin Cook out, I decided to start James Conner, who had 2 touchdowns and 40 yards. It was a fun week. It was a very fun week for me. Between Josh Allen and Cooper Kupp, I'm systematically destroying everyone in my league right now, which kind of brings us on to the top performers who balled out. I just kind of picked like a couple people, and I didn't do this on purpose. I actually just searched on my standard scoring league and picked like the first quarterback and the first 2 non-quarterbacks. So last week we were talking about it. Josh Allen had been underperforming against projections this, all season. And by season, I mean 2 games. This week he had 358 yards in the air with 4 touchdowns in the air, as well as 1 rushing touchdown. So depending on your league, he had anywhere from 36 to 50 points, maybe more, if you had those bonuses. Mike Williams, who you mentioned, Anthony, you played against, had 7 catches for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
I think that's a sign of things to come. He's already been putting up good numbers all season, so this isn't really that crazy. I expect him to keep doing it. I mean, Justin Herbert's he found his stride. I think he found that stride this week.
There's no sophomore slump for him.
Yeah,
not at all.
Not at all. Then Cooper Kupp, 9 catches, 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, you want to talk about someone who's benefited from Matt Stafford being on the LA Rams? Cooper Kupp has 5 touchdowns in 3 games.
Stafford.
What an upgrade.
I'm so happy for Stafford because man, when you play in Detroit, you go into an early retirement if you're a decent player. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy for Stafford. McVay got. I said it last week. McVay got the type of quarterback he wants. Stretch the ball down the field. You saw what they did to the Buccaneers. Yes, Buccaneers were missing out on JPP, and I want to say it was the offensive player, Antonio Brown. But still, he torched them up. Stafford can ball. He was always like this. Mm-hmm. He now just has a coach that believes in him.
And he's got a best friend in Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Oh, he did. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So top performers. I mean, there was a lot of high-scoring people this week. It was ridiculous. We saw some of the higher scores we've seen in our ESPN league. And obviously, in a lot of leagues, if you put up 107 points, like Anthony, you could win the game. But he put up 107 points and lost by 107. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Anywho, moving on to the waiver wire, we had a couple injuries and a couple people to keep an eye out for. So Christian McCaffrey, we're going to get into this in a little bit later. Christian McCaffrey's out for at least 3 weeks. So I want to know from you guys, do you take a chance on one of the 2 running backs from Carolina? Do you go with Chuba Hubbard or Royce Freeman? What are you guys thinking there?
I already did.
Oh,
okay.
There he is.
Wait, which one did you grab?
All right. So here's the thing. That McCaffrey guy. So you know the game that I lost by 107 that you just reminded everybody again?
Did you have him on your team already?
I had the number 1 pick. I did. See my level of my tone. I'm so sorry. I had the number 1 pick. I said, oh, McCaffrey, bounce back year. This is all about the money. Cool. Bet. He gets hurt.
It was a bounce back year, though. He was killing it.
That's true.
That was true. But he's not going to be killing it for the next at least 3 weeks. So I think what's the dude?
Chuba Hubbard or Royce Freeman?
Hubbard. I went with Hubbard.
Okay.
I love that name. I think that he's going to do something. And you know what? I'm desperate.
Yeah. Okay. So you remember 2 years ago, before COVID, the last big college football season, that Oklahoma State running back that ran for over 2,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's Chuba Hubbard.
I need him to do that in 3 games. It will be fine. It will be absolutely fine. If he does that in 3 games, cool. Chuba, Hubbard, Chuba, all that. I'll take him.
I mean, I guess so. We have an answer there, Nate. But I would rather, and I don't know about you, but I'd probably rather go with someone like James Robinson over in Jacksonville. Had 88 yards and a touchdown, 6 receptions for 46. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as far as options go, that the running back situation, I feel like this has been the conversation that's come up every week, and I'm running out of filler things to say because I have absolutely, I apparently have no idea which running backs are even remotely capable of being even good. I've got plenty of wide receivers, but I I wouldn't push money on Ty Johnson because you can't catch the ball on a 4-yard dump when it's 4th and 1. But yeah, yeah, Hubbard sounds really good right about
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's the story. It's the story of the year. Like, I mean, well, it doesn't help that the Ravens have gone through 37 running backs, and San Francisco's gone through 22. Now Carolina's about to go through another 14. So, and I'm not sure how many running backs are on Jacksonville's roster, but it seems like they have 12. Because every week someone's doing better than the last week. So. But you know, a couple other people on the waiver wire. Marquez Callaway, out of New Orleans. Guy's not going to put up a ton of catches or a ton of yards, but he seems to be Jameis Winston's holy crap, I should throw the ball target. Which, if Jameis Winston happens a lot. So, Marquez Callaway had 4 catches with a touchdown. I don't know if he's really someone you want to put on. He's sitting on my bench as a handcuff to Michael Thomas, who's on my IR, but, I don't know. I'm not going to play him. But then for you guys, so let's okay. Oh, hold on.
All right. You know what? Don't he's with Jameis, and we know how I feel about Jameis. You might want to start him. You know what? I got nothing to lose in my fantasy league. I might start him. You know why? Because of Jameis.
He's going to be a part of the MVP story, of course, right?
See, I got a believer. Now all I need is Nell to believe. And we're going down the right path during this podcast.
So on that note,
I'm just asking questions, just to be clear.
So on that note, we've had a bunch of disappointments in the quarterback department this season, but one surprise so far in Mr. Sam Darnold, and I'm not bringing this up just because I'm a Panthers fan, but Sam Darnold so far this season in average scoring leagues has put up 19, 20, and 25 points. You know, scoring's going to be different depending on, you know, your league. But is Sam Darnold a for real fantasy QB1? Or is he just a bye week guy? What are we thinking?
Nate.
I mean, I've been arguing for Sam Darnold as a fantasy quarterback for a while, and honestly, it's because I think he's, especially if you're in a league that's going to give you the everything off all those runs, he's good with the legs. I mean, I'll call back to the game against the Ravens when Lamar broke that record for rushing yards for a quarterback. I think it was that same game. Darnold broke I think the pass protection completely broke down, and he just ran it like 30 yards into the end zone past everybody. So I've always felt that he was much more of a threat with his legs than people really give him credit for. I mean, he had that rushing touchdown against the Jets, right? Or it might have been the 2-point or whatever. He had the rushing touchdown this last week, and I would say I felt a little bit less comfortable with the idea of him in that spot without CMC, because it's almost like guaranteed free infinite points by being able to pass it to him. But everybody else seems to have been holding it down together, and the way that their scheme seems to be working, he's got so many opportunities to run, and I'm glad he's taking them, because I don't think that he shouldn't be rostered in any league. If I had Lamar, I'd be like, I probably would want to start him over him, but Sam's going to probably throw the ball a little bit more than him too. So I think it's a fair question to ask.
2 straight games with 300 yards, at least a touchdown. Actually, all 3 games he's had at least 1 touchdown. So I'd say if you're hungry for a quarterback, I mean, don't put your entire fantasy league on my shoulders, but I'd say Sam Darnold's going to get it. And then, holy moly, guacamole, in Los Angeles, we had a Deshaun Jackson sighting. I thought it was 2007. How long's he's been in the league? He had 3 catches for 120 yards and 1 touchdown, like only Deshaun can do.
That is what you're going to get out of Deshaun Jackson. He is still one of the better deep ball catchers. Like he has breakaway speed still at the age of 34. He's going to stretch the field, and that's what they need. And then you got a quarterback with a big arm. Everything is sinking beautiful out there.
Yeah. I think
it is.
Yeah. I think Deshaun will roll nicely. If you're playing in a league that's pretty deep in receivers, say you're playing, you know, you have 3 receiver slots and a flex slot, and you need to fill that flex, maybe throw Deshaun in there. I don't know if I'd put him in the conversation of wide receiver 2 or 3, but if you need a 4 and you need someone to throw in there in a bind, maybe he can get you at least 6 to 7 points, or throw up 21 on 3 catches. So that's what you're gonna get. So those are a couple people that at least in most leagues are still available. And with McCaffrey out, a lot of people who had that number 1 pick are looking for someone else to fill that role for at least 3 weeks. Look at you, Anthony. So anywho, with that, last week on Twitter, my buddy Steve Franchise, was like, you should do Nell sit or Nell start. Get it? So anywho, I decided to tweet out and get someone who was kind of questioning what they should do on their fantasy team and kind of give them the advice that only Nell Star can give them. But he has a particular problem that seems like it's plaguing a lot of fantasy football players. And he's got Jacoby Myers and he's got Brandon Ayuk. I'm just going to go straight off the bat. Like, Jacoby Myers is going to be the better play here every week. There's no question about it. Get into it. Ayuk's only played in 2 games. He's at 8 total targets. And I think his value comes off of if he can get a touchdown or not. At least for right now, because it does still seem like he's in Shanahan's doghouse because he's not really on the field that much. He did have a touchdown this past week, but other than that, he was only targeted, 3-4 times. But then you have Jacoby Meyer, who seems to be one of Mac Jones's favorite targets. In 3 games, he had 9 targets, then 6, then 15 this past week. Really did only break out this past week, but, if you're asking me, getting 15 targets in a game and capitalizing on that is probably someone. But he has focus of the offense, so if you're asking me, go with Jacoby Myers. Brandon Ayuk, I think, at this point is kind of a lost cause.
I would go with Myers if they weren't about to play a angry Buccaneers team.
Yeah. Well, so this is also what I'm saying, and Nell start, the official answer is Nell would start Jacoby Myers, and that is because, one, we're going to talk about it, but Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting, the cornerbacks, defensive backs for the Buccaneers, are both out as of right now, with SMB on the IR, and Jamel Dean was actually removed from the game and didn't come back. So I think that opens up the door for Jacoby Myers to put up a couple points, especially if you're looking for a flex play. So Nell start, Jacoby Myers. Nell sit, Brandon Ayuk. It sounds like we're gonna have to work on that one. We'll work on that one.
I like it, and
Yeah,
logic's good, by the way. I think it's brilliant with the amount of passing that we're seeing out of the Patriots, because I really feel like it also comes down to Belichick understands that people are going to be trying to cheat on the run if they think the rookie quarterback's if they're trying to take the pressure off of him. But I think he's taking advantage of that. I think that's why you're seeing him throw the ball. I think that's why you're seeing it, be something that actually can work. And as you said, I have Brandon Ayuk in my fantasy league. So there you go. That's all you need to know. That's it.
Yeah.
That should give you the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, perfect. With that, let's move right into our Week 3 recap, starting off with probably one of the bigger stories. It was Justin Fields. I guess first real start. And it did not go very good for Chicago's rookie quarterback. He went 6 of 20 for 68 yards and was sacked 9 times. 4.5 of those coming from old Myles Garrett, Texas A&M fame, getting 4 tackles for loss. And before anyone says anything, I am not of the camp that we blame this and Justin Fields' performance on Nagy. I think some of the play calling is his fault. If you go back and watch those plays, that offensive line, sometimes with 7 blockers and the running backs, could not block to save their life on Sunday.
So here's the thing, though. So they couldn't block. It was horrible. Mm-hmm. That goes on coaching. So that's going to eventually get down the line to Nagy. Like, it's coaching. You know that you got a rookie quarterback, and this offensive lineman had issues.
That's why he put 7 people up in front of Justin Fields.
Well, they need to have 9 because it just didn't work. It didn't. It was really bad.
I just cut the whole offensive line and go sign some free agents.
I don't. But it was also play call.
If only it was that easy.
We we had some play call issues in Chicago
I'm not
as well.
saying
like,
okay. I'm not saying there's no fault on Nagy's shoulders, but the Twitter was ablaze, and I got blasted for it. That it was all Nagy's fault, and it wasn't. One, it was the offensive line's fault, and two, like Justin Fields made some really dumb passes. Again, this goes back to our rookie conversation that we've had every week, but I don't think this is Nagy's fault completely. Sure, some bad play calls, but hot diggity dog, that offensive line was as good was as good as a pile of garbage.
the garbage is better.
But Cleveland looked good. Cleveland
I was gonna say, you know, Myles Garrett, he's unbelievably good. I don't think anybody can debate that. But you can really see watching Cleveland play. There's a lot of fire there. They know their team is not in the rebuild quote unquote phase anymore. They're looking for wins. They're looking for big wins, and it is fun to watch those guys go at it. And that defensive line. To be fair, everybody should be struggling against that to some degree. They've made some really fantastic plays, even in the previous games.
Just putting Jadeveon Clowney on the opposite side of Myles Garrett to essentially free up Garrett, because now you can't double team Garrett every time, because if you do, then you've got your defensive tackle that's going to go through. But then if that defensive tackle is going through, you're double teaming Jadeveon Clowney. It's crazy. Like this defensive line can't be stopped as of right now. Are people going to figure them out? Maybe. But on the offensive side of the ball, Odell Beckham Jr., first game back after an ACL tear and surgery, had 5 catches for 77 yards. I'd say a successful return.
Yep.
He had some really good catches. You really do love to see it. And my Lord, Kareem Hunt was like, okay, so you guys want to win the game? Cool. I'll help. I got this. Accounting for 155 yards all by himself.
They have the ability to trade one of those running backs, probably Kareem Hunt, and get something to add to this Super Bowl run. Because they can take advantage of these teams that are hurting from running backs. I would probably maybe think about seeing what you can get out of the market for Hunt and these teams that need it. Maybe you can get something back, I don't know, to add to the defense. We don't know how long Jarvis Landry is going to be out with that knee injury. I see of Cleveland being selfish, maybe look to trade him. You saw Kansas City, they added Josh Gordon.
Yeah. And
they didn't really need to, but that's just more firepower that they need. Cleveland's in a good situation, but in regards to Myles Garrett, you got to double team him. You got to see if Clowney can do the same exact thing. Because 4.5 sacks, if I'm an offensive lineman, I'm quitting. I'm quitting like that Ohio State person that quit at halftime. I'm just walking out. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, let's be honest. It looked like Chicago's offensive line did quit. They're like, you know what? We're done.
I blocked Garrett again. Nope.
I'm good. I'm out of here.
Practice squad guy. Get me out of here.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That was a good game, though, but an even better game came Sunday night, Green Bay versus San Francisco, and my Lord, did Aaron Rodgers take this team on his back and go, come on, children, we're going to win this one. Man, this was a classic Aaron Rodgers versus whoever the heck else he's playing shootout, where Green Bay forgets how to play defense, and Aaron Rodgers got to win the game again. And I'm not going to lie, both teams looked so great on offense, minus that questionable interception that Jimmy G threw. This was just a fun game to watch. Aaron Rodgers only threw the ball 33 times. Jimmy G threw it 40. Like, it was just they were just going at it. I'm pretty sure, Aaron Jones is also, like, just taking this team on his shoulders with Aaron. Like, they're just like, all right, let's do this together and let's go. But what do you guys think? Is Rodgers back? I mean, we can talk about him more because he's a top story. But what are we thinking? Green Bay contender after getting their butts spanked by the Saints?
After all the drama in the offseason and everything that ended up happening and everything that Aaron Rodgers didn't say, I think there were a lot of doubters and people who weren't Packers fans that were hoping to see the collapse for a myriad of different reasons, whether you're in the same division of them or you just don't like old quarterbacks that are good. But this was, as you said, and don't think you could say it better. It was a classic. This is Aaron Rodgers he's going to give you that same tenacity like Tom Brady, saying, okay, are you going to give up enough time for him to run a couple of plays before the game is over? Are you comfortable just being up a single point against these guys? And no, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't feel comfortable kicking a field goal to go up 1 or 2 points against Brady or Rodgers if you're going to be leaving them with more than 5 seconds on the clock to kick a squib or something like that. Yeah. Because these are the exact kinds of games that have made these dudes legends, because these are the situations where they pretty much always turn up. Did he have a rough start in the first game? Yeah, there was definitely a question mark, but I think it's also fair to consider that everything in the offseason is not as normal as it would be in any other year too. So the adjustment period, you kind of expect it out of some guys. Maybe you don't expect Aaron Rodgers to go through that same adjustment period when the season starts, but he's clearly through it, and he's looking good. He's looking great again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know we have joke when it comes to MVP conversations here, but I think Aaron Rodgers after a tough week one, put your hands down. After a tough week one, I think he cemented himself in that MVP discussion, especially considering what happened in the Arizona-Jacksonville game. We're going to skip a couple games because this actually led into this. Is a good segue. Cardinals are 3-0 now, but for the first time this season, Kyler Murray looked very human. Threw a pick, didn't have a passing touchdown, but had a rushing touchdown. Very much, kind of rode the back of James Conner taking advantage of the opportunities that he got. Are the Cardinals still the real deal? This is only Jacksonville. Are we worried about Arizona right now?
No, I believe in their defense. And I think their defense, I'll put it up against Cleveland. Mm-hmm. I'll put that front seven up against Tampa Bay's or LA's. I think the defense is going to help them when Kyler looks human. And I don't think Kyler's going to look like this next week. I think this was just Jacksonville got me. But I really believe in this team, and going forward, I think this is going – I see them easily get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from this is that game was closer than it was. The game was still closer than it should have been. It's not often you're going to see a team trot out the kicker to try to go for 68 yards, and it's even less often you're going to see somebody bring it all the way back across the field for a touchdown. But Kyler Murray still had a lot of completions, still had a lot of yards. Mm-hmm. The interception, yeah. But do you need to throw a bunch of touchdown passes when you're playing against a team that can't score on you with their offense? I don't think so. I think if Kyler Murray is just if he's going to throw 30 passes that get him 300 yards and put his running back in a position to win and just grind it out like that against a team that can't score on him, I'm not going to complain that he's not trying to make those big throws. And I'm only saying that because I don't have him on my fantasy team.
No, I agree. I'm just over here just stoking conversation. Don't make me out to be the bad guy here. I told you, I love it. My number 2 team's Arizona. Cliff Kingsbury, Wreckham Tech. Go Texas Tech. We're gonna get into Trevor Lawrence in a little bit because I think there's a bigger conversation to be had about him and Zach Wilson, and we can talk about both of them as we go down to our top stories. But then we'll just move right on. Tampa Bay versus the LA Rams. We kind of all picked as our game of the week last week, and I'd say on the LA side of things, it lived up to the hype. Tampa Bay, kind of not so much. So first question coming out of this. Can we officially say that Matt Stafford is the real deal now that he's in LA?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. Yeah.
He needed to get out of Detroit real bad. Real bad. That team is explosive. That team is fun to watch. And my favorite part about all the conversations that have been going around about that Bucs-Rams game, people are like, oh, Tom Brady this, Matt Stafford that, Kupp looks amazing, oh, Deshaun Jackson's back. But then the thing that makes these games so much more winnable for the Rams and what makes them such a good team is you have guys like Aaron Donald still coming in and making those huge plays. Yeah, you talk about Brady as much as you want. I don't care who you've got blocking. Aaron Donald gets past anybody. That's why he's the best of the best. So that game was a treat. I don't think a loss there to the Rams maybe says anything about the Bucks, chances for the whole season. I still think that they're fantastic, but this just reaffirms to me that the Rams are a legit contender this season because of Matt Stafford.
Now, I mean, are you sure that we can't pin any of this win on the fact that Tampa Bay's secondary is absolutely decimated? So both of their corners.
It happens to everybody. Everybody gets injuries. Everybody gets injuries. They showed up on the field. They had Tom Brady. They can't move down the field and score points and win the game. That's on them. You can't just leave everything to that. There's so many teams that are hurt that you're still going to hear people talking about being contenders, like Baltimore, right? With their running back situation, you can't be like, well, okay, they can't score points because the running backs are all hurt, so I guess we just give up now. It's like, no, you still got to play the game, and I was really impressed by the Rams.
Yep.
Every team goes through adversity. It's going to happen, and so it's something that they just ran into a good defense. They ran into a great better quarterback on Sunday.
Now, there's another story coming out of this game that I think we really need to touch on, and it's in regards to Tampa Bay's rushing game. So I want to throw this out there, the stat. Tom Brady led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in rushing against the Rams with 3 carries for 14 yards and a touchdown. So with that being said, all this we're saying about teams have injuries and all this jazz, Tampa Bay's running game is an actual problem. Tom Brady is playing lights out. There's no question about it. Without a running game, I don't think this team's the contender that everyone else thinks that they are, because Ronald Jones ain't doing it. The guy has like 36 yards.
It's having a commitment to the running game. And I think what's going on, and it's kind of the same thing that's going on in Kansas City, even though the running back broke for 100+ yards, it's they try to run it on first down, get 2 yards, and they say, forget it. Brady, go ahead and throw the next 10 passes, and we'll just go from there. Like, there's such a up-tempo offense. They don't want to ground and pound. They really are going away for it. Where was Fournette?
Yeah.
Fournette was, important at the goal line, and we haven't seen him. We didn't see him that game. I think you just got to go back to having a commitment to the run game. It might be boring to people, but that's going to help you later down the line.
Yeah. Speaking of needing help, Kansas City is now 1-2. They were playing against the Chargers this week. Their first 3 possessions, 3 turnovers, an interception, 2 fumbles. So I just want to throw this back, and I'll give credit where credit is due. Anthony last week said that if you're Kansas City, you kind of have to be worried with the way that things are looking in the first half of each game that they've played. And now I'm inclined to agree with them. What are we thinking, Nate? Where are you at on this scale now?
Look, they have talent. You have a lot of great players. I don't even think that the Chiefs have necessarily fallen off a cliff, but the level of competition, especially with the division, you can't predict that a guy like Justin Herbert is going to come in and be able to actually take that to you. You're thinking, okay, they got a new quarterback. Maybe we get a couple seasons where the guy has to figure out what he's doing. He's not going to be on top of his game. You don't expect rookie quarterbacks to be like that good, but coming into his second year, we already know that he's good. And yeah, watching that game was painful. The turnovers early, really, really ugly. It's not like I don't have anything bad to say about Mahomes or some of the their big guys, but it's not coming together. And just because these guys, it's only a couple of teams. These are teams they have to play more than once too. So that's where the real fear for me comes in, because they might be able to beat anybody outside their division in the AFC, maybe, but they are really struggling within that division, and that is not a problem that you can look past.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, kind of give credit where credit is due. That first pick, that Mahomes threw, whoever it was on the Chargers, who was it? Gilman? Was it Gilman? Or was it Samuel Jr.? I don't know. I don't know if it was Samuel. It might have been Gilman. That was one of the most impressive interceptions I've ever seen. This guy turned into Superman and jumped like 15 yards and managed to catch the ball before it hit the ground, and it was beautiful. So I almost give credit where credit's due to the Chargers defense for making a lot of plays that happened. Like this win is solely on the shoulders of the Chargers defense. And if that's the case, what you're saying is even more true. They have to play this team twice a year, right? And now we're also talking about the fact that Herbert, after having a bad week last week, bounces back with 4 TDs and 2 of them to Mike Williams.
Kansas City needs to wake up. I feel like they think that they can breeze past until the playoffs come. They need to pick up the next gear. I think they're just playing really lazy right now, and they're trying to rely on Mahomes coming back for them every single week, and that's a lot of pressure on Mahomes. And yeah, it's time to hit the panic button. They did add Josh Gordon. It's going to help them in the offense. We need the running back to do what he did last week. He needs to keep on doing it, keep the running game going. But I don't feel comfortable with Kansas City right now because Los Angeles, the Chargers and the Raiders, they look scary. So I don't know. Mahomes, it's not even Mahomes. The Chiefs just need to pick it up.
Yep. I will say this. We talked about him last week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire showed up, put up 100 yards on the ground, and then, I don't know, I think something crazy, 2 catches for 9 yards and a touchdown in the air. So looks like Clyde may have figured it out, but also at the same time, it's almost looking like he has a fumble problem. So if he can protect the ball, maybe. I don't think any of this would have happened had those turnovers not happened. But you can't have 4 turnovers in a game and expect to win.
Yeah, they were really ugly turnovers too. Like that first pick you're talking about. I think it was they zoomed in real close. Mahomes wasn't even looking at the guy who threw the ball to. Like he was doing his Mahomes thing, and then it just gets tipped off the hand. You're like, oh, he wasn't ready for a second, and you think to yourself, okay, well that's not the worst thing that could possibly happen, right? Then you have Edwards-Helaire. He gets tackled. He kind of comes down on top of another player and takes another hit on the way down. Then the ball comes loose, and you're like, it's not a situation that's supposed to be, can you necessarily put that on him? But the fact that the Chargers were able to force this many turnovers and capitalize on all of these opportunities really just has me even more excited about watching them through the rest of the year, because looks like both Los Angeles football teams are going to be, blowing it up this season.
God, if we have an all LA Super Bowl, I'm going to lose my mind. But with that being said, another team that I'm excited to watch all season, I can't believe I'm saying it because this team's the reason I'm a Carolina Panthers fan and I live in Texas. Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. I'll say this, for everything that happened in that game, Jalen Hurts did everything that he could physically do to try and win that game. But he came up short, and I put this loss is going to go on the defense for the Eagles. Let's just say that. Darius Slay even opened up on social media about a bunch of his plays that were blown coverage and where he could have done better. But what are we thinking? Dallas is the real deal. I think they are the real deal, and I hate saying it because they're the reason I'm a Panthers fan.
Their defense, I wouldn't say real deal. The defense, I think, is took advantage of some not so favorable offenses right now. Dak is the real deal. Yes, Dak is right now, and Dak is picking up from where he left off from week 4 when he got injured. But to say that they're a real deal right now, and this is the week 4 coming up, not sure yet. But they do have that cornerback that is playing out of his mind right now. Michael Parsons, they moved him to DN, and he is just going after the quarterback. Probably going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So, yeah.
Only because J.C. Horn broke his foot. Let's just that caveat. Had J.C. Horn not broke his foot, then it would have gone to J.C. Horn. But okay, continue.
Yeah, whatever works. James MVP. So it's going to be very interesting going forward. Let's see what Dallas does. So I just want to see more.
I mean, is it safe to say that Dallas is a top 5 defense with the way that they look right now, or is giving 21 points up to a kind of not fantastic Philly offense a sign that they could be a lot better?
I think the defense is really good. I think it is worth pointing out. I watched that very sad end to the game, but there was some. I think one of those touchdowns was picked up in the garbage time because they were talking about. I actually think it might have been that defensive end we were just discussing kind of took like a rough-ish hit, and they're like, okay, well we're up enough points at this point that some of those stats from Hurts got a little bit inflated towards the end because they took a few of the starters out. Dallas's defense looks really good. They've impressed me. There's few things that I enjoy more than talking shit about the Cowboys, but you can't argue with the stats. And Dak Prescott looks phenomenal. Like the number one question mark going into this season for me and about the Cowboys anyway seems to be, and I think this is the most important thing. That Dak is back. It looks good.
Dak is back.
Yep.
So I guess it remains to be seen. We're going to talk about their next week's game here at the end of the show. But so let's get in some quick takes. Those are the bigger games of the week. So we'll get in some quick here. So Carolina played in Houston on Thursday. They're 3-0, but at what cost? Chris McCaffrey's out for at least 3 weeks. J.C. Horn, first-round pick. Cornerback, who was number 2 in the league at quarterback rating allowed in terms of cornerbacks, now out for the season with a broken foot. Does this take away what little confidence everyone already had in Carolina and throw it away? Or is Carolina going to be able to continue this streak of playing this good of football? Do you think the rest of their defense makes up for what they lost?
I mean, how do you feel? You're the you're rocking the Panther shirt
Give me
right now.
your
You went
take.
to the game. You know,
Okay,
you feel
I'm
good?
I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Losing, I mean, arguably one of the number 1 players in the NFL in Christian McCaffrey is a huge loss. They apparently were working out Duke Johnson. That didn't do anything, but I think Royce Freeman, you remember a couple years back, had a great season in Denver. If we can see that version of Royce Freeman, and if we can see Chuba Hubbard from 2 years ago at Oklahoma State, it's going to be a little bit better. On the defensive side of things, I am a lot less concerned because I don't know if you guys saw, Carolina traded Darnold in a third-round pick for, I think it was Darnold in a third for C.J. Henderson and a 5th. If you don't remember, C.J. Henderson was Jacksonville's first-round pick, number 9 overall last year. Super athletic corner. He's not J.C. Horn, but do I think he can fill in where he needs to on that defense? I think yes. But also we had to put Justin Burris, our strong safety, on the injured reserve, so that secondary is getting their absolute butts kicked right now. But listen, I said it in chat, and I'm going to say it here. Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule believe in their roster, so why wouldn't us, the fans, believe in that roster? They already got us to 3-0. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll say on that. And then we'll go to Nate's team. So the Jets.
Man.
Okay. No, and this is a legitimate question. Was it that bad of a game for the Jets, or is Denver that good of a team?
Well, there's two very important things. There's two very important things about the Jets, and it all boils down to the offense, obviously. But there are some I think we're leading the league in drop passes, which is, that comes onto the people that are getting the balls in their hands, because it's inexcusable mistake when you're being paid millions of dollars to catch the ball. If the quarterback can get it to you and nobody's there in front of you, you should be able to catch the ball. They had even in that first, I've been referencing all of the drops all season long, but the coaching is becoming, I think, a big question that people started to talk about, because you have one of these clips was getting all over Twitter where they had the third, I think it was 3rd and 5, and they had a bunch right. All 3 of them ran the in route at the 5-yard mark. All 3 receivers are right next to each other, and they're not playing Denzel Mims. He's not even activated on the roster because apparently he can only play Corey Davis's spot or something like that, and they don't ever want to take Davis out, even though he dropped another ball, another big one, and ends up obviously getting the lion's share of the coverage because he's getting all the targets from Zach Wilson. And you got to be asking, like, what is going on with the offensive schemes, because it's also affecting with like the blocking. And yeah, it certainly didn't help with Becton. I think he's still out for another 7 weeks, so that O-line is still terrible. The defense, weirdly enough, has been like the quiet part, because they get put in terrible positions constantly by how incapable the offense is of getting anything done. But I don't know if you guys saw, CJ Mosley had some really good hits. He had some really, really good tackling. Even though we've got, rookies, Eccles, Michael Carter too, in our cornerbacks, those guys have actually been holding it down as far as positives. But yeah, our offense is going to make it impossible for our defense to look good, or for anybody to get anything done, if they can't figure out better play calls or get receivers that can do something other than run a 5-yard in on 3rd down. Yeah, that's about the state of where the Jets situation is anyway. I think a lot of people still have confidence. to some degree. And Zach, he still gives all the right answers to the public, but they need to switch up what they're doing, because at some point you look at the play and you're like, there's no possible way you're getting anything good out of this.
I agree with that. So moving on, Tannehill had 3 touchdowns and leads Tennessee to a victory, but 3 picks almost lost in the game. So Tennessee up and down this season. Obviously, Tennessee was very strong playoff contender last season. Are they going to be able to repeat? Go back? What do you guys think? Do we have a quick take? Are they out in the wild card, or are they going to a divisional game? Does it all depend on Derrick Henry? Tannehill?
It's going to be Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry's going to get his. He will. Tannehill has to live off that play action. He has to be the way he was last year for them to do anything this year. Or if not, just put 8 in the box, and then they become super one-dimensional.
Cool. All right, so last week we said you could not blame the Giants' loss on Daniel Jones. This week they lost to Atlanta, and I have lost all hope in this team doing anything productive this season. It's not that, I don't even have anything to say. The Giants lost to Atlanta, who are spectacularly the worst team in the NFL right now.
Yes.
Daniel Jones looked terrible. Saquon Barkley looked terrible. Joe Judge, I am convinced, does not know the game of football. And that's where I'm going to leave it at.
I couldn't agree with you anymore.
Yeah. I mean, this is, you take a nap during this game.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that has to be quiet whenever Daniel Jones has a good game, but now I can just go back to, yep, that's about what I expected.
Yep, it was terrible. So following that up with a good performance, the Bengals rebound on Joey B's 3 TDs, kind of looking like the Joey B that we got a little glimpse of last season. And it's starting to seem like the Pittsburgh fan base, the faithful, want old big baked potato Roethlisberger out from behind center. Do you think it's going to happen? Is Ben going to finish the season behind center, or are all the chants going to finally take a little power there, and they're going to get him out of there?
He's not going anywhere.
He's baked potato.
Who's his backup?
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Who? He's still playing?
They could sign Cam Newton.
If Pittsburgh fans are lucky, they'll be able to draft a quarterback pretty high next year, right?
With that being said, Justin Tucker breaking the NFL record for longest field goal on a field goal that should not have even happened because the refs missed a Lamar Jackson delay of game. What do we think there?
Justin Tucker is the GOAT of kickers. All right.
Yeah,
I don't care.
He's like, nope, hike the ball, go.
Look, you can't. They're not going to go back and change what happened. So guess what? Justin Tucker made the longest kick, and guess what? Justin Tucker's the GOAT. That's it.
Yeah,
He's the GOAT.
I'm gonna be honest though, that game should not have come down to that field goal. There are a lot of opportunities that Baltimore had to really take over this game and really put it away, and they didn't take it. But I think that, as I have said a lot of times, I'm not Lamar Jackson's biggest fan. I think that's one of the things that we saw, a little bit of lacking in leadership and getting that ball down the field. But hey, what can you do? They won. That's all that matters. Move on to the next week. And then Anthony wanted to take this one away, but the Raiders barely survived to go to 3-0. But can Miami be a threat with Jacoby Brissett?
No, and it's I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I watched that whole game. I was at work. I had a TV outside and I watched the whole thing, and I can tell you that the defense of Miami would be top 5 if we had a quarterback that can just hold their own. It's not even the offensive line, because the line actually did a pretty decent job against a good front four for Las Vegas. But the thing was, what got me frustrated, Jacoby Brissett got almost 200 yards of his 300 plus in the late fourth quarter and overtime. What they did differently, they threw the ball downfield to Will Fuller. They got a beautiful pass interference call on Matt Hollins that got them to the 1 yard line. Mm-hmm. They start being aggressive. That's really aggravating that you can't do that in the first quarter. They were playing dink and dunk. The organization has the identity crisis when it comes to the quarterback. There's news out of Miami of 2 conflicting stories, which is actually crazy. Draft night, Tua was not the preferred pick for Brian Flores. It was Justin Herbert, which we know was pick pass for Tua. Brian Flores wanted Herbert. And then the second thing is the owner, Stephen Ross, currently right now is in talks with Texas to acquire Deshaun Watson. And right now they're looking like the Texans have lessened their offer. Yeah, what they want. So I think it's going to be interesting going forward because I really believe that they don't believe in Tua right now. I'm not saying anymore, but I think the injury right here and the frailness of it, I don't know. If Brian Flores want to save his job, you got to look at something.
Yeah. Okay. I believe you. You're the Dolphins fan. But Minnesota behind Kirk Cousins with an amazing game from Kirk Cousins puts away Seattle. Seattle now 1-2 after what looked like a great start in that first game. Now a couple tough losses against some games against some teams they should have won. We asked about Kansas City. Seattle 1-2. Is it time to worry for Seattle?
I'll just say it. Yeah, definitely 100%. Especially with losses outside the division in this at this point. I mean, the Rams and Cards are both 3-0. So when you're looking at playing against these guys down the line or getting any of these rematches, there's a huge amount of concern that if you're a Seahawks fan and Matt Stafford keeps carving it up and Kyler Murray's able to manage those games, or he gets hot again, you're fighting for a wild card spot, and I don't think that's where any Seahawks fan normally would expect or want to be, but I think that's just what happens with this, especially LA. Just the Rams becoming this much of an upgrade. If they keep that up at all, no, you definitely have some cause to be concerned. NFC looks terrifying.
Cool. So New England should be worried, or was it just the Saints bouncing back to a better game after being shut down by a top 3 defense? I said Jameis Winston look okay. I think someone snuck in the letters MVP. I put MUVP, which means most unvaluable player. He still
most
can't
undervalued player.
Okay, listen, I'm going to keep saying it. Jameis still can't throw the ball for over 200 yards a game, and that's going to be a problem down the line for the Saints. If they can't move the ball with Jameis, they got lucky on some defensive plays. Some penalties went their way.
Did you see the touchdown?
128
He stayed
yards.
in the pocket.
128
He
yards.
stayed in the pocket
128
and
yards.
threw it. He's composed. Oh, my God. He threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Alvin Kamara won them that game, and you know it.
Jameis did.
Alvin
The MVP
Kamara
won.
won them that game, and you know it. And if you say anything else, you're lying to yourself, and you know you are.
Are we doing this every week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jameis.
But if Jameis doesn't lose the game for them, then then what's the hurt in not having that yardage when your running back can pick up that much slack? That just makes your life easier. That's like having Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt as your running backs. I can't feel it too bad. Any game where Kamara does well, it should be a game where Jameis' stats are lower because you're just taking a lot less risks when you run the ball with someone that consistent.
Sean Payton is a genius right there. He doesn't have the ball in Jameis' hands always. Like,
exactly, because he knows that if he puts the ball in Jameis' hands too much, they're going to lose. Look what happened against Carolina.
You don't need to
2
throw
picks,
the ball
0
40, 50
touchdowns.
times.
Sacked like 8 times.
He has 6 touchdowns for the season, only 2 interceptions. He is on his way with those stats to have 40-plus touchdowns.
Doug,
I will see him in the
Anthony,
NFL awards at the end of the season.
He has less than 400 yards total this season.
Okay, this is the 3rd week. That's okay. You act like he can't.
Moving
double
on,
that next week.
I'd say that's the games. Buffalo destroyed Washington. That's all we need to say about that. Josh Allen, that was embarrassing. This is what happens whenever you start Taylor Heineke. Anywho, moving on to the injuries for this week. We mentioned already Chris McCaffrey out for at least 3 weeks on the IR for Carolina with a hamstring injury. New England losing one of their top weapons in James White with a hip injury. He was actually carted off the field, so hoping he's going to be all fine. Then J.C. Horn, another one for Carolina with a broken foot. He is on IR, so his rookie season is over. Then a big one coming out of Tennessee with A.J. Brown with a hamstring injury. This kind of really is going to make or break Tannehill, isn't it?
Well, we were just talking about it,
Yeah.
right? It's so important for him to be able to do what he needs to do because every time that he makes a good pass down the field, that's going to make Derrick Henry's next run play a little bit easier. And the easier you make things for him, the more you win games. So losing a weapon like that, hopefully better soon. But yeah, that's a big. I think any loss in the receiving core there is a huge loss because running game's more than figured out. You just need to make sure that the team can't just stack the box against Henry every play.
Yeah. And it's worth noting Julio Jones has been downgraded to questionable for the game this week. So Tannehill's going to have his work cut out for him without two of his favorite targets. And then Terron Armstead, the offensive tackle out of New Orleans, left the game with an arm injury. So those are some of the biggest ones coming out of the NFL this week. I hate that. I could have added a third one here, which was Carolina's starting strong safety. Justin Burse is on the IR too. So that's 3 starters for Carolina's secondary on IR now, which is not what you want, you know?
Hate to see it.
Yeah. But top storylines, Richard Sherman may be making a comeback, visiting Tampa Bay and working out for them. This is probably a good thing because Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting are both hurt with SMB on the IR. Richard Sherman still got a place in this league?
He's a boundary cornerback, and that Tampa 2 offense, I think it's a good fit.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have to move from like side to side, if he could just stay in one boundary, that was his strength when it came to when he played with the Legion of Boom in Seattle. So, I mean, we'll see.
Fair. We'll skip the next one because we already talked extensively about Chicago's quarterback situation. All 3 quarterbacks are on the docket to possibly start for their next game. So we'll see what's going on. That offensive line just needs to be they need to figure that out. And maybe Nagy needs to give up play calling duties, but we'll see what happens there. And I think one of the bigger questions that we have is: are we being too lenient on Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson? And now, I'm not saying the way that like a Jets fan like Nate has been on Zach, because he's critical, and he has every right to be critical because he watches that team every week. But
God, it hurts.
a quarterback like Tua had so much more scrutiny, performing better than 2 of the most hyped quarterbacks to come out, who both have 7 picks, but each time that they do bad, it's billed as, oh, well, they have potential. So are we just being too easy on Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence?
Okay, I have to ask you a question, Anthony, because I need to know if this has any ground. But is it not fair to say that if you were a fan of Miami the year they got Tua, that you weren't actually still kind of excited about Fitzmagic being on the team and making some plays and slinging it? You know, that had to be a little bit of what drove that too, because it's not like there's any other options for Jacksonville or for New York. New York, they could have tried to pick somebody up or keep,
Cam Newton's out there.
What's his face? But
With Fitzpatrick,
well,
you have to understand with Fitzpatrick, you have to live and die with he's going to give you a crazy performance and the next game throw 4 picks. And the thing is, we just got lucky in Miami that he was just on it. I was questionable when they decided to go with Tua after the bye week last year instead of Fitzpatrick, and then Fitzpatrick got back in a week or 2 and got him towards a playoff push. I really hate the way Tua is being treated now. And it's crazy because it's not even a big market team in like Miami. Like we're not supposed to do a lot of things, and yes, Tua is like the eyes are put on him, and then you got Zach Wilson over here that's just doing a Eli impression when he used to throw 4 picks in the first half and everything. And Trevor Lawrence, I don't understand why people are not getting on him more because he
looks terrible. He looks terrible. I agree. I think Tua was subjected to more scrutiny than was fair and what was deserved, especially because whenever Tua's on, Tua looks good. And whenever Tua's protected, he has time in the pocket, and the plays are called that work towards the way that he plays the game, he looks great. But the minute he throws an interception or the minute he takes a sack, and it's on a play that Flores would have designed for freaking Ryan Fitzpatrick, like, then we're gonna blast to it. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Nah. I like to. I think that situation, and it's also because I'm a Ryan Fitzpatrick fan. I watched a lot of those games, and I think Ryan he was doing the Fitz magic thing more than tragic. So when you see him come out and then Tua goes in, as soon as Tua makes a mistake, I was like, bring Fitzpatrick back out, right? But yeah, it's such a mess. I mean, New York and Jacksonville are just huge messes because the offensive scheming does not seem to be there. Both quarterbacks making lots of misplays. I obviously watched the Jets games a little bit closer. We're crushing it in dropped passes. I think Zach's made a lot of decent throws. I think he's had some moments, but if people can't, if the coaches can't get receivers into places where they can get the balls, then it comes down to, just too much. But there's a reason, again, why Trevor Lawrence went first overall and Zach Wilson went second overall. Yeah. And it's not because they were going to winning teams. So
yeah.
Can we just say that the two coaches, I want to make sure I put blame on them too, because they're two weird
Urban
coaches.
Meyer is about to pull a Nick Saban and peace out to USC.
Oh, that hurt.
Yeah,
Miami.
that actually could happen.
Yeah, Urban Meyer is like, I am done with the NFL. I'm moving on. But also,
he's gonna alt F4. He's gonna rage quit.
The wild thing is that I believe in Robert up in New York. I believe that he can do good as a coach there. I don't believe in Urban Meyer one iota. I am fully convinced that Urban Meyer will never win more than 3 games as an NFL head coach.
He won't. He's barely going to coach 3 games because he should be gone already to USC. I don't know why he hasn't left yet.
Yeah. At the very least, Saleh going into the interviews and stuff, they understand that they're not, that it's a process. They went into it at the beginning. They're like, we expect to lose a lot, but with the way that they've managed like Mims and just not, he only had 1 play this whole season so far where he actually got a pass, and it was a 40-yard catch. It was awesome. And he literally wasn't even on the active roster for the last 2 weeks. And that's like the big question. Be like, well, what's going on? How are we not able to get players involved that can make plays? And why do we have a triple in route? Is that the receiver screwing up? Does LaFleur actually think that that's the way that we're going to be able to win the games? Well, when Ty Johnson's wide open and it's 4th and 1, why can't he catch the ball? I would pay a lot to know the answers to these questions, I promise.
Another question that we have that we'd like to know the answer to, this is a simple yes or no question. Can we consider Justin Tucker the best kicker of all time?
Yes.
Yeah, he got the record, don't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Would you put him up there above Morton Anderson, who is widely considered to be the greatest of all time?
Yes.
Above Dan Bailey?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Keep going. I got the same answer.
Can you name any other kickers?
No, I can't. John Casey, he played for Carolina for like 20 years.
Adam Vinatieri? Yes.
Sam Ficken, he's crushing him.
And then we talked about the next one, Carolina trading for C.J. Henderson, first-round pick last year from Jacksonville. Really a steal for Carolina, sending Dan Arnold, tight end who only had 7 catches through 3 games, and a third for a 5th-round pick. So they get a first and a 5th for a undrafted tight end in a third. So I think Carolina takes the bank and runs here.
Yeah, but Carolina loses meme value, just to be clear. We can no longer have Darnold to Dan Arnold memes.
So mad.
That was my favorite part of watching the Panthers play this season, I won't lie.
So, anywho, we'll move on. Last week, we covered a couple of rookies that were struggling here out of the first 2 games. Now that we have 3 games behind us, let's go ahead and look at them again. I'm going to hop right into the guy who I gave the most trouble to, which is Alex Leatherwood, who is the offensive tackle, came out of the first round with Las Vegas now. It's really weird to still say Las Vegas as a football team.
Very weird.
Get used to that. But as we noted, he had already given up like 4 sacks and a metric crap ton of penalties and a bunch of pressures and QB hits. This week, no sacks allowed and no penalties. That is a step forward in my book, if you ask me. Now, he still did have 6 pressures allowed and 4 QB hits allowed, but you went from a lot of penalties to no penalties. That's a win.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's getting progress. Let's see what happens next week.
Yeah. Yeah. But then we go to Naji Harris, who's been getting a lot of flack for having a very subpar yards per carry per run that he has, which continued. This week, he only had 2.9 yards per carry, 14 carries for 40 yards. But then that would be ignoring what he did as a receiver, which was break the record for most catches by a running back in a game for Pittsburgh Steelers with 14 catches for 104 yards. This is great. This is cool to hear. I don't really think that it still makes up for the fact that he can't average more than 2.9 yards a carry.
It's that offensive line for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Fair.
It's tough.
And then bringing it back to the New York Giants, because it's always fun to talk about that team. Kadarius Toney, previously over 2 weeks, he had 2 catches for negative 2 yards. It's still a hilarious stat if you ask me. But on Sunday, he matched his season total, had 2 catches for 16 yards on 3 targets. Still seems like he's not being used. Are we still going to keep blaming Joe Judge for not knowing what he's doing out there in New York? Or are we going to blame Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator?
Can we blame all of them? And can I throw Daniel Jones in there as well? He does have to catch the ball from him, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem.
Fair. Very fair. And then we'll throw it back to the Jets. Elijah Moore, one of the ones that dropped a few balls there.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore had 6 targets, but only caught 3 of them for 22 yards. Was it a case of the drops? Is it bad quarterback play? Or is it maybe a second-round pick that was a little overhyped? Or is it way too early to tell?
I think it's still too early to tell on Moore. He actually, just looking at the games, and I think that PFF stats, he was the actually had the most separation out of any of the receivers in that game against Denver. He looked good, but as you pointed out, drops killed him this year, just like it's killing everybody else on the Jets. And it's like it's killing Zach Wilson while he's taking, 4+ sacks every single game. So I think that's another case of the team is not putting him in a position to make the plays that he should be capable of making. With my notable exception, the big drop he had in that first game.
I think that's actually the case for both Harris and Toney. I think neither team is putting them in a position to succeed with where their talent sets them in this league. So it'll be interesting to see. I honestly, for one, think that the Giants should just fire their entire staff and hire Eli and Peyton to be their coaches.
Yes.
That would be so much fun. They'll get in an argument on the sideline.
You might switch me to be a fan of that New York team instead.
But we'll see what happens. I have faith that Toney and Harris are going to turn it around, and if he says that Moore has some promise, then Moore has some promise. But with that brings us to what we consider the end of our show, which is our Week 4 look ahead. We each picked a game of the week, and I threw the lines in there so we can discuss those afterwards. But let's go ahead before we get into the Vegas lines. Let's talk about the games of the week. Anthony, who'd you got for us?
Ooh, I got 2 former LA teams, but the Chargers and Raiders, they are going after the AFC West. I'm looking forward to it. I like Justin Herbert. I like Derek Carr. What's going on? These are 2 rising and up and coming teams. These are the 2 teams plus the Broncos that's making it really hard for Kansas City to go back to the playoffs. Yeah. This is going to be very interesting. It's going to be a shootout. I think a lot of points are going to be on the line. My final score, I do have the Chargers winning 35-30.
All right. Ooh. That was precise. What about Nick?
Yeah, I'm ready.
What about you,
Nate?
It. Who you got next week?
I like it. The game I'm most excited about, and I don't know if you guys could tell when we were talking about the Seahawks earlier, but Arizona versus Los Angeles. I am a colossal Kyler Murray fanboy. The only reason I watch the Arizona Cardinals play is because I don't see anybody play and move around and handle the ball the way Murray does. And I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm just saying he's really fun to watch. But Matt Stafford is turning the Los Angeles Rams into a legitimate football team. They got a brand new stadium, and he is making it look like it is the party you want to be at. So I'm looking at this. I have no idea who I want to win because I think Matt Stafford deserves to be able to have that big run before the end of his career, whenever that ends up being. But I'm running out of things to say, honestly. I want to watch Aaron Donald try to chase down Murray and him do his little tappy toes and get around outside him anyway. Or maybe that's where it all falls apart. Matt Stafford throws for 4 touchdowns and Murray can't get around Donald. Who knows? But that's going to be a hell of a game.
I'm stoked. I love Arizona. I love them. And I promise my pick is not solely because I'm a Panthers fan, but it is what I think to be two of the better defenses in the league going heads up, which is Carolina versus Dallas. Also, I'm going to be at the game. Yeah, I'm going back-to-back games. What's up? And I'm actually very excited to see how both Dak and Darnold perform against the opposing defenses in this game. I think they're both going to be challenged, and I think because of that, we're going to see who's a contender and who's a pretender in this game. Because Carolina's front seven is very dangerous. Brian Burns and Hassan Riddick are turning out to be the scariest duo in the league right now. That is not fun to go up against, apparently. You should ask Zach Wilson. You could also ask Davis Mills. You probably who else do we play? Oh, Jameis Winston. Yeah, ask him how it felt. Anywho, no, I think this is gonna be a battle of defense. I think it's gonna be a lower scoring game. I think both Dak and Darnold are gonna have their troubles, and I wouldn't be surprised if both of them have at least one turnover in this game. And obviously, I'm gonna pick Carolina to win, but I do think it's gonna be very, very close. It's gonna be a 3-point game. With that being said, Chargers Raiders, Vegas currently has the Chargers -4 and the over-under at 52.5. If you're asking me, with these two teams, I'm betting the over all day.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I said 65 points, so.
Yeah, there is no way I'm touching the Chargers -4 here because I think it's a 3-point game or the Raiders just pull off the win. I'm just like I'm too scared of that number.
Those odds. I mean, when we look at what we have here, that's the biggest trap I think I see because the Raiders have been. That's got to be my upset pick. If you're looking for it, the Chargers are looking too hot. People hyping them up too much. The Raiders are quietly winning all these games. However messy it may be, they're still getting it done somehow, and not just against the bad teams. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to side with the Raiders on that one myself.
Yep. All right, then bring it into Dallas. Playing in Dallas at good old Jerry World. You have Dallas -5 and the over-under at 50.5. If you ask me, I said it was a 3-point game. I'm taking Carolina here. I think Carolina, if they lose, they cover. Sam Darnold with the Jets, by the way, had only covered a spread like twice in his career. In Carolina, he has apparently covered it all 3 games. So I take Carolina in this one. If you're going to ask me on the over-under, I'm taking the under here. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair with defenses really in play.
I don't think it's going to be as close as we think. I think Dak at home, the crowd, I think he's going to put up another stellar game.
Before you say any of that, do we know if Tim the Tatman's going and if he's going to tweet out in the third quarter that the Cowboys have it in the bag? Because if so, then Carolina wins.
They're going to lose.
Yeah.
That is true.
Good point.
Yeah. So
If
someone
we
find
stay
out if
away
Tim's
from
going.
that.
Someone find out if Tim's going because I need to know because I'm also going. And if Tim's going, then I'm going to make sure to start cheering at the end of the third quarter. Anywho, Arizona versus the Rams. I hate this game. I hate betting this game. And if you asked me to, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But it's what we do here. We have the Rams -4.5, the over-under at 54.5. Gentlemen.
Oh my God.
It's easy for me.
What?
Enlighten
It's a
me.
shootout. Oh, I'm taking the over. This is Stafford going to throw for 4 touchdowns. Murray's going to have 5 total touchdowns. There's not going to be a single defense about this. This is going to be a shootout of 2 quarterbacks that we're going to see in late December. I mean, we're going to see in January going forward. This is going to be a good game. I like it. I'm taking the over.
Jalen Ramsey's standing behind you, ready to cut you.
Most likely.
I can see that, but yeah, Rams -4.5 is. I can see a world where the Rams defense does shut them down, and that Stafford still throws for his 4 touchdowns, and it's a colossal blowout. And I can see the world where Murray turns it on and he does his thing. I don't know if both quarterbacks played their best game. I'm not sure if Murray's best game would be better than Stafford's best game, and that terrifies me about this matchup.
Fair. And I agree. But with that being said, that's the end of the show. Those are the picks that we have this week. As always, thank you to everyone who has been here live and listened in and chatted with us. It's always fun to have people in chat because sometimes what you don't hear on the podcast version of this is us actually typing into chat and talking with people that are there. So if you are listening to us in podcast form, make sure to tune in Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/rdsports. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Anthony, thank you for some reason for continuing to talk about Jameis Winston when no one else wants to talk about him.
I'm never going to stop, and I'm gonna say it again. MVP, Jameis.
That's a weird way to say Kyler Murray, but okay. And Nate, as always, thank you for your insight and your everything you bring to the table, man. It's really awesome to have both of you here.
Hell yeah. It's awesome to be here.
No.
It's awesome talking shop, talking football, and being forced to look for things to talk about that aren't Jets related because they don't do anything interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I was going to have that same problem this year, and I probably will in about 4 games, so don't worry. That being said, that is the end of episode 3. Thank you so much for listening. Again, my name is Nell. I'm joined by Anthony and Nathanius. If you guys want to find us, all of our socials and all that jazz are down below wherever you're listening. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys at week 4. Recording done.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, gents.
Rushed it.
I appreciate it. Chat. Thanks for the Carolina talk. I appreciate it. Now, screw the Cowboys. I still haven't
God,
been. I also would like everyone to know I have not been logged out of New World.
Nice.
I am still sitting in the same queue of 98 for the past hour and a half after
He's part of that. He's doing that to you, Anthony. He's doing that to you. I'm just messing.
Wait, are you on my server, Anthony?
No, I'm not.
I have no idea how it even works. I'm just.
It's an MMO.
I'm
It's,
just,
it's server based, but
It's fun.
no. But all right, I won't keep you guys any longer. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next week.
All right, y'all.
Later, chat.
Peace.
Later.